What is the topic of your discussion tonight, please?
Yeah, you received certain communications from Watch Hill regarding Fort Road.
That'll be coming up under the manager's report, I believe, under town council.
Is
At the end
part
of
of
the
it's part of the agenda.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just like to, few things. I got a few things to add to that.
Point of order, please.
Please state your point of order.
I respectfully request that the president recuse from all discussion and voting in matters of the Fort Road right away. Information that this council has received shows that you've been paid $30,000 by the Watch Hill Fire Department and additional monies by the Watch Hill Conservancy. Also, you are a property owner in Watch Hill and a member of the fire district, and a ruling of the State Ethics Committee in 2020 regarding Richard Constantine, a Westerly Planning Board member, who is a property owner and member of the Weekapaug Fire District. The commission found him to be conflicted financially and ruled against him having any say in matters regarding the Spring Avenue right-of-way. So for those two reasons, the financial and the property interests, I ask you to recuse.
Thank you.
Mr. President, on that issue,
Mr. Dillon.
I think primarily the first thing I would look to this evening is whether or not there would be a vote. There's no vote regarding that item this evening. I believe the council is receiving information. Additionally, whether or not there's a conflict is a question of whether or not there's a present financial interest. A history of having a financial interest does not create a present financial interest. For example, if someone was a town employee for a period of time, ran for office, was elected, they could still participate in anything related to the town. They wouldn't be obligated to recuse for all items related to the town. So an extension of that is simply just what it would be relative to this fire district. Additionally, it's my understanding that there is no remaining financial interest or work on behalf of that entity. So I don't see any conflict of interest. From my perspective, from our review of the ethics code, there's no objection from the solicitor's office to your participation.
Thank you. Council.
With all due respect, the Ethics Commission came back with a ruling. The issues parallel, and I'm not the one to make the judgment. I would hope that you will seek an advisory opinion, but until then, I would ask that you would recuse based on the appearance of impropriety.
Get up, Counselor. The appearance of impropriety is just that. If in your mind, I am not employed by the fire district nor the conservancy now. I wasn't employed by them. Excuse me, I was not a employee of the fire district as a consultant when I was in office. I was not a consultant while I was serving in office, nor was I a consultant after I decided to run for office again. So based upon our legal counsel, and thank you for bringing this up, of course, I would respectfully disagree. And should anyone challenge that, then I suggest they file an ethics complaint against me. And if you'd like to do that, please do.
So you won't
No,
even seek
no, I
an
will not.
advisory opinion?
I didn't say that, but
Oh, well,
I can't
that's
get one
what-
tonight.
I know that. And but meanwhile, you could recuse tonight.
Under what basis? We're not voting on anything, Joy. I'm running the
So
meeting.
The Constantine ruled that he was to abstain from all discussion and voting.
We're not
It's
voting.
that simple.
Counselor?
One of the provisions of the ethics code is that people don't just recuse anytime that there's a potential of a conflict, that there is sort of an obligation to hold your office and participate as a member of your office, that you recuse in scenarios in which you believe that you cannot be just. In their stated form, for example, you can even specify that you have a current financial interest in something and then check a box that you are still participating because you believe you can be fair and just. So the question or concern about whether or not you can participate, the ethics code itself suggests that if you believe you can participate, you should.
Thank you.
Could I ask just a question?
Council LaPetra, please.
Are you referring to in taking the discussion tonight or as well as voting on the subject?
Either. I have no concerns as to either action.
I will take that under advisement and at the proper time. And if anyone here would like to file an ethics complaint, please do,
I'm good to go now?
please.
Yes, okay.
Sorry for the delay.
All right, John Gagne, Narragansett Avenue, Westerly, Rhode Island. I graduated from URI with a history degree. So I have the fortune to have a little bit of time, and I've been going into the basement here at Town Hall to look at records. So on January 2nd, 1940, the Westerly Town Council created a Citizens Taxpayer Committee, requested that the Town Council create a Rights of Way Committee. We've been at this for a while. And I've got stuff for the record here for you for the clerks to put into the record and ask all this to be put in the record. March 19th, 1942, the Watch Hill Improvement Society communicated they couldn't share the expenses of the comfort station, asked the town council to do that. The town did. December 9th, 1942, there was storm damage in December of 1942 to the dunes in Weekapaug, Misquamicut, Watch Hill. The town council voted to allocate funds to repair it. In January of 7th, 1944, there was a communication from the Watch Hill Improvement Group. They requested all beaches and streets be kept clean for the summertime. In May 1st, Narragansett Bay Council voted and approved the budget to restore the dunes, okay? This was the town transfer of funds for the dredging of Little Narragansett Bay. They voted and approved the budget and plan to restore the dunes due to the hurricane of 9/14/1944, estimated to be at $66,000. Now, I did the math on, I went, online and I did the math on $44 to current. All right, that was the equivalent of $1.4 million that the town council at that time allocated to carry on, and they could only allocate 26,500, which is the equivalent of 566,000, because at the time the town was structured that you had a financial town meeting, and they were going to get the rest of the funds at the annual meeting. It goes on all the way to 1944. Where the town paid the federal government's share of a cooperative beach study for Southern Rhode Island and participated in a vote. And again, it used funds that it had set aside for the dredging of Little Narragansett Bay. My point here is, why do they do all these things? They did all these things because they should have done all these. The town of Westerly. It's the town of Westerly. We're one town. So I found in those records that Watch Hill or Weekapaug or other or Misquamicut would come routinely and say, "Hey, listen, in 1939, I found records where the town council in their the books and pages that I found that information in, they came in and said, can you send people down to help clean up storm damage from the 1938 hurricane?" They were still doing it. 2 years later, they were still cleaning it up. Should they have? Great. This is a conservation easement. This is in the Westerly book 201, page 340. And this is a conservation easement from where's the Watch Hill Fire District. This has to do with the state of Rhode Island, the Watch Hill Fire District, all the way out. Part of it in here, it says, hereafter refer the grantees whose purpose is to preserve the natural area for scientific, charitable, educational, and aesthetic purposes. So there was monies that were set, there were agreements that were made, and conservation easements were designed for passive use. That means walking. Also in the records, this is in your town GIS. There are two records you've got. One, the town of Westerly owns a lot out there on Napatri Point. Also, the state of Rhode Island owns a lot out there, both of them. The thing on the municipal lot that I found interesting is it's just a town-owned lot, which means that a vote of 4 members of the council could sell that land at any point. I would ask that the council consider moving it into the municipal land trust into perpetuity so that it can't be sold. It can never be transferred. We need to be, that's public property. So we need to be able to get to our property. So why do I bring all this up? I saw the communications from Watch Hill talking about Fort Road. It's a private right of way. It's not real. It's not here. It's ours. It went away in 1938. All the excuses, but don't worry, we'll let you use it. Well, I don't understand why an organization would pay lawyers, would take all this time and all this effort to say repeatedly over and over and over again that something isn't real. Why, if they're just going to let everyone use it, what does it matter? What does it matter? You know, this thing comes up all the time. Explain to, they can't, I've never heard the logic of it. I mean, so all those documents, all those years, every time there was a storm, every time they needed something, the town of Westerly was there. Now it's a bright day, it's July, the sun's out, and you get the mine letter. It's mine, it's mine. Why? It makes no sense to me. In 2008, the town council allocated, said it's a public right of way into perpetuity. You guys didn't reverse that. In fact, when it came time for CRMC, you sent a letter saying, hey, there's public right of way there. They're going to say they're going to sue you. They're going to say all these sort of things. Great. You know what I used to tell them when I was a town councilor? When somebody from that area told me, great, you realize that we will pay the town solicitor to fight. And we will use it, your tax money, to do it. They live in a beautiful spot. We live in a beautiful spot. It's all one town. Let's act like it. Let's just act like it. And you guys have to have the backbone to say, no, it's here. Now, there's some challenging things coming out. You know, we read all about it, and do the right thing. You know, regardless of how, if one person does whatever they do, the rest of you are there to do the right thing. There's 7 of you. It could be 6-1. It could be 7-0, but defend the rights of the community. So again, and also doing a little review also of town property. I found the Lucy property, which we bought years ago up in Bradford, is still held by the municipality. So I think there's a process here that's kind of falling apart. So if you might want to consider instructing the manager to look at all the town-owned properties, the ones that we intend to be used for conservation, the ones that we intend not to do in the town forest and all that, let's make sure they're all in the municipal land trust and that they're protected into perpetuity. It would really make a difference. It really makes a difference. That way there's no 4-3 vote at a future date to say, oh yeah, that property, well, no, you no longer own property out there. Or you no longer own a Lucy property or wherever other properties that you have. So anyways, I thank you for your time. I thank you for listening.
Thank you, John. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on an issue on the, Mr. Weber, please?
Ben Weber, 3 Blossom Court, Westerly, Rhode Island. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'll be real brief. After reviewing all the documents that were submitted and attached to the agenda tonight, specifically regarding Fort Road and that by Manager Lacy and others, it struck me odd that all seem to support that Fort Road is or was never a road or a right-of-way. It also seems that perhaps Manager Lacy misunderstood his assignment. He was asked at the last meeting to look into where Fort Road was, not whether or not it was a right-of-way. And that was for the discussion on marking the right-of-way. As stated at the last meeting, I myself researched Fort Road along with many other rights of ways, the status of Fort Road endlessly. And I found just as much, if not more, evidence to support the contrary. That's very favorable. to Fort Road being a public road. In fact, if not, you know, a public right of way that has been used for generations, decades. However, also stated at the last meeting, last time, everything that was submitted by Manager Lacy and everything that I found is 100% absolutely irrelevant. All that matters is the 2008 resolution. So I wasted a lot of time, and so didn't he, and taxpayers' dollars on looking into it. 2008 resolution, the town. Some may ask why. Why do I say that? Because, well, let's use the opposition, because I saw their comments too, talking about violations of Open Meetings Act. We are doing nothing new here. You, as the town councilors, are not up here, or should be up here, declaring or designating anything regarding Fort Road. It's a done deal. The opposition's argument that I read is proof in the pudding. And they say that after it was destroyed by the 38 hurricane, only the owners of lots of land have any right to Fort Road or any interest in Fort Road, that it's privately owned by the owners of lots, which, granted, the fire district is a big owner. They own quite a bit of the land. However, in their argument, the town of Westerly and the state of Rhode Island both have lots on Fort Road. So they also are interest owners in Fort Road. Because of that, because they are interest owners and having the rightful power and authority to do so, in 2008, they declared Fort Road and designated Fort Road as a right of way via resolution. And it states exactly where Fort Road is according to the map that is relevant, but wasn't included in the submittal for some reason. States right there on tax maps, being the fact that they're a landowner, it's completely pertinent to use tax maps to designate the location of where Fort Road is. We talked about surveys. The only survey that needs to be done is to find out where Fort Road is, according to the maps referenced in the 2008 resolution. And furthermore, again, I repeat, this council is bound to uphold it by the harbor management plan, by the comprehensive plan. States right in it that the town is bound to protect rights of way, not let them go. That's why it was said that there was no reason for a deep dive. It was a done deal back in 2008. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Yes, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Dan King, North Capalbo Drive in Bradford. I will be very brief here. I'm just speaking in support of Mr. Garnier's comments a bit ago and urge this council to stand its grounds on these town designated right-of-ways. It abandoned Spring Avenue. It's reconsidering Fort Hill Road. I would hope that we would keep the right-of-ways that we have, the town designated right-of-ways, until legally challenged and negated by the courts. Stop giving it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Anyone else? On what subject, sir? Fine. When that comes up, just join in. No problem. Mr. Gagne,